Hello and welcome to our BC Spotlight Meet. Today I'm here with Andy Loveland, the CEO and founder of Early Rider.
Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here, Andy. To start, Early Rider is not just another bike company, and it has a long history. Maybe you can talk us through what was the starting point for Early Rider and what was the original problem you are trying to solve?
Yeah, okay, so it started early 2005. My wife and I were just back from a stint in the US. She was pregnant. My eldest was 2, Freddie. And it was just it's a really exciting period of change for us. But even back then, 20 years ago, there was this growing trend of kids being more connected to screens and the outdoors, and we just didn't want to have that for our kids. So we moved away from the city, and we began focusing on getting outside as much as possible. And it was about that time that Freddie's godfather was in Germany and came across this developmental tool, which was designed to make it easy for kids to get mobile. The idea is that our emotional and cognitive development is dependent on our interaction with the world around us. And this, of course, the balance bike. And we bought one for Fred, and sure enough, in moments he was racing around, never to be in the pushchair again. And for us, it was absolutely life-changing. The freedom, the mobility, the quality of time we had together. And so the fact that this simple innovation is really just a simple a simplification of a product that existed unchanged for years could have such a profound effect on their development. It was amazing. And so it was clear the balance bike was going to be really big. I felt that it would lead to a transformation of the traditional kids bike market. But for us, it was the fact that there was an opportunity to change how, and more importantly, when kids interacted and engaged with the world around them, i.e. before screens, that was most exciting. And that was a trigger for the company. So, when we look back, we didn't set out to start a bike company. We were really making a stand against childhoods being hijacked by screens. And the bike was almost incidental. It was a vehicle for the philosophy. So, we started with bikes and we never got out of them.
I really love the fact that it's really about being outdoors and living experience, getting experiences. But is it right? You built the first bike, and you were talking about the balance bike, right? The wooden one.
Yeah. So we were one of the earlier pioneers of the balance bike. The first balance bike was produced by a German company called the unfortunately named Pedo Bike. And then it was pioneered by a company called Like Bike, Kokua, and we were one of the early adopters. And I guess what we did that was different, we were concentrating on how the bike is presented to the consumer. So our name, Early Rider, okay, it was inspired by the counterculture movie Easy Rider, which is about freedom, it's about the open road, it's about saying no to conformity, it's about experiencing the world firsthand, and that's what we wanted to do as a brand. And so that was the origin, and what we did with our first bike is we put all of that attitude and that non-conformity into the product. So our first bike was a mini chopper, which I built, and it had these stupidly wide rear tires and a big tire at the front, and 8 hangers like this, which my son could barely reach, and he sat there in the nappy in the lounge thinking, what the hell's going on? But it was a lot of fun.
Yes, it sounds like a lot of fun. But did you ever work with wood? How did you get into building a bike?
No. So look, my background was banking software. I sold banking software in the city. I wasn't very good at it, so it was easy to change. But I always liked fixing problems, or solving problems, I should say. And it was a very exciting time. Suddenly, as I was saying earlier, this ability for us to make something that was so simple that could have such a profound effect. So we made it in a workshop, the first samples in a workshop, and they were absolutely beautiful. The frame was carved into the flames were carved into the frame. It was amazing. It was super exciting.
I really love the fact that it's about the kids, about being outdoor, and the flames look super cool, by the way.
Yeah, it's a bit of a trademark for us. I think it's probably already come across, but you know, what we're trying to do, it was never about learning to ride a bike. That was the beauty of the bounce bike. It was about nurturing participation and laying the foundations for an active childhood that would hopefully unlock their potential. And that we're not talking just physical, but you know, their ability to deal with people and plan and assess risk. And that was never really available to kids until a much later age, by which time, you know, they had made less progress and maybe more addicted to screens and less motivated to do it. So yeah, it's important that we understand it's all riding. Okay, so Early Rider was meant to be more generic than bike. So in my mind, we would make surfboards or snowboards back at the time. It's just that the bicycle is the best place to start. It's so accessible, and you know, you can use it everywhere, and it's that first early independent mobility, isn't it? So yeah, and you know, as the kids have become better and better at riding, it's more enjoyable to make the better and better bikes, which take them to the next level.
You build a kid's bike, but do you have a personal connection to bicycles and riding the bike?
Yeah, so I mean, I obviously love bikes. You couldn't be in the industry without it. But it wasn't as though I was a super keen mountain bike rider or a religious road rider. My connection came from when I was a kid. I grew up on an estate, and the bike was your car. You know, that's how you got around to see your mates, and you kicked around until the sun went down. It was a huge part of our lives. And this is what I was really worried about, being absent in the lives of kids today. I know it's tricky, but yeah, so that's where my connection came. Nowadays, I have a Passion Governor, which I use as a town bike. I do mostly road because my wife also loves to ride. And I do a bit of cross country, so a bit of everything.
Very nice. How old are your kids now?
Freddie is 23 and Luke, my youngest, is 21.
Okay, so they don't ride kids' bikes anymore.
Yeah, no, we failed to keep up with them a long time ago. So they had a lot of Christmas and birthday presents, which were bikes, but that soon stopped. And Fred, our eldest, is now part of the business. He's running Switzerland for us, so it's a generational thing.
That is super nice. That it's like the full circle of
exactly.
You building the company and then passing on to generations, as the bike can be passed on to generations. I really love that. That sounds like super sustainable. Andy, let's talk about the products. What's your philosophy behind the designs and the bikes?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Okay, so with everything we do, we try and make it best in class, and then we trust that everything else will take care of itself. And so our focus is ultimately on progression. We're trying to unlock potential. And when we think about progression, we think about making it safer, easier to take kids further earlier. Okay, so you know, what does that really mean when we look to design a product? We ask ourselves three questions. Number one, does it enhance and elevate kids' abilities? So this might be coordination or cognition or balance or risk assessment, resilience. So that's the most important thing. And then we want to make sure that it intensifies experiences, positive experiences, because you know, the more positive and intense experiences, the more memorable it becomes, and that's what charges us for future developments. That's what gets us back onto the bike, and these are really important for confidence and our mental well-being. And then the third part is, does it make connections? So are you connecting with your family, with your siblings, with the friends that you're riding with? Or, you know, as importantly, does it connect you with the woods or the park or the world around? And so they're the three things that we look for behind every product.
That's so nice. It's always about getting better, and yes, that's very, very nice philosophy behind the brand. I love that it's product focused, and if the product is right, then everything will come.
Do you know what? People often associate us with kids that ride at a certain level, or parents that know bikes. But we feel it's just important to give a great bike to a learner, if not more important, because we have to start them on that journey, as it is to look after the kids that are doing the 40-foot tabletops.
Start them young so they get used to the bikes and build a connection. That's a really great thing. You have a few different models in your lineup, and it's a whole range that is very connected in itself. What is the thinking behind the different models and your lineup?
Yeah, okay, so we look, we focus on three things, right? The most important thing is to get kids mobile, so that's our priority. And then what we want to do is help them take those skills and encourage them to experience adventure. That's an important part of a childhood. And then the third responsibility we see is that we have to support kids no matter what level they're at or where they have the option to ride. So it's just as important for us to help kids find adventure in an urban environment as it is for us to support those guys that are going down to the bike park and they're hitting those tabletops. And the same with levels. It's just as important for us to support the beginner as it is the experienced rider. From a technical point of view, they're the same challenges. We have to make sure that the bike is easy to control, it's stable, it's reliable, it's efficient, and all the things that a learner needs is what a more experienced rider needs too when they're facing difficult terrains. It's the same challenges. You need to be confident in the bike, and it needs to be easy and fun to ride.
Okay, so not only a bike for every class of age, but every class of experience and how they ride the bikes.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a challenge.
Yes, I guess it is. How many models are in your lineup right now?
Okay, so we have 4 series. Okay, we have the Belter series, we have the Seeker series, the Charger series, and the Hellion series. So the Belter series is more for kind of an urban environment. It's ride to school, but beyond. We call it the long way home. So the gravel tracks, the parks, and then we have a Seeker series, which is our all-round adventure bike. So it's super lightweight and it's capable on the trails, but it's really easy to still do those daily rides around town. Then we have the Charger range, which is for those people who are going to spend a bit more time on the trails, and you can get really good with that hardtail, and that's very much more for off the beaten track. And then we have a Hellion range. We have 2 new bikes coming out at the end of the year, which is our full sus range, and that's our bike park range.
Obviously, you need to be in love with the brand, and if you are in love with Early Rider, which is very easy, you will find the right bike for you, even which terrain and whatever you are looking for. That's a very nice lineup.
Yeah, we just think that we're trying to make this kind of riding accessible to everyone. We want to elevate kids riding beyond a commute to school. It's so much more important for their development to just get further afield and participate in more adventurous activities. Getting
outdoors and have the progression.
Yeah, exactly.
When I think about Early Rider, I think about the super pretty brushed aluminum bikes and the low maintenance belt drive. What are the other similarities about the bikes? And not every bike has a belt drive, right?
Yeah, no, we started making belt drives, and then as we expanded into different terrains, the belt drive wasn't necessarily appropriate, but the brushed finish that came about because a number of reasons. One, it ages really well. So when you chip a painted bike, it's really noticeable. But if you chip bare aluminium, it's only aluminium underneath. And we know we produce expensive bikes, and we're trying to convey the value. But one of the most important ways we can help is to make sure they have a high retained value. So if the bikes look great after a couple of years, then they'll sell better. And of course, brushed is a gender neutral finish. So when you come to sell it, you have double the potential customer base to be able to sell, and all you need to do is change grips if you want to add color or pedals. And so when we take materials out of the ground to build a bike, it's not sustainable. So whatever we produce, it has to be durable and last as many kids as possible. And the key part of that is not just the function, it's also how it looks. And the belt drive came into the longevity, the durability of the bike. Parents aren't great. I wasn't great at maintaining kids' bikes. And so to have something that didn't need to be cleaned and is all aluminium so it doesn't rust and would last for years and years, it's just coming from a car engine, it seemed an obvious thing to do. So it's about making the best bikes possible and making sure that as many kids get to enjoy them.
Yes. I guess as a kid you can throw your bike around. Kids will throw their bike around,
yeah, exactly.
And these will always look good. I love the fact that it's made for passing it on to generations, and that really leads me to thinking about your sustainability strategy or your ideas behind building the product to be a maximum of sustainability.
Sustainability is a big topic, and the way we view it is it has to happen at every level. And so from a manufacturing point of view, we're very careful about the materials we use, the factories we use. Do they look after their workers? Every part of the supply chain has to be really thoughtful about what they do. And then on the front end of the business, we have to produce bikes that are durable and perform really well, that aren't going to be left behind. They have to be progressive, and they have to look great, and they have to, most importantly, generate a connection between the kids and the world around them. Because if we want to make the world a better place, right, first we have to make sure the kids are connected to the world. They're the ones that are going to be responsible for what happens in the next generation. So ultimately we have to get kids connected, and that starts with making brilliant bikes that become as accessible to everyone as we can.
I really believe that, because of it really is made. I love that it's one model for even if it's a boy or a girl, and that you don't need the paint. So
yeah, so we obviously have some painted models now, but that was a reluctant thing. So making a brush bike is actually really quite difficult to do well. It's quite easy to make a mistake when you overbrush an area, for example. And what you can't do is you can't reverse the process. So we had bikes that weren't meeting a standard, and we're not going to put them in the ground. So they're the ones that get painted. So our brand would always be brushed if it could be perfect every time.
So you have models that bring a little bit of color into the world.
Yeah, but not primary colors.
Okay.
A key differentiator for us, we sell to parents. Okay, so we are trying to get across how important the bike is in a child's development, not just the rite of passage of learning to ride, or not just a commute to school. And we take our job very seriously, and so we want to make sure people see that our products are serious. And so we will never do primary colors or baskets or furry toys or animal stickers. We take ourselves maybe a little too seriously, but it all comes down to the product.
Yes, and you can see that the result is a very, very nice bike that ages very well also.
Yeah.
I couldn't think in a world where this bike wouldn't be cool in 10 years.
Well, that's a goal.
Yes, it is. Speaking of the future, you have some models coming up that are new that we don't know yet, right?
Yeah. So we've just launched our biggest range revamp in our history. So we've 17 models that we've just launched, but we have two very important models that will come out later in the year, and they're the new versions of our Hellion X bikes. They've been through testing. They're now racking up podiums with a couple of our young riders. We're very excited. We've managed to find a a sweet spot between high performance and a good price. So we feel it's what the market needs. There are more and more kids starting to ride the bike parks, and this is going to be a great tool for them.
Yes, I guess so. It should be a trend that full suspension bikes for kids, so they can do more, and I think it's even safer because you have like the more traction on the ground, and you are safe for the bike park.
Yeah, exactly. And people don't necessarily know this, but the bike park bikes for kids was pioneered by a guy called Brian Stanton. He was phenomenal at this, and he started a brand called Little Shredder that was Whistler based, and he was the one that supported the likes of Jackson Goldstone as they developed. And we had acquired Little Shredder, and Brian came into the company and helped work on the development of the bikes. And so, we're building on a pedigree that he set out many years ago. And so this is a particularly emotional relaunch for us. So we're very excited about it.
Okay. You launched 14 models, right? This just recently?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, very nice. Is it like an update to the previous bikes?
So we try and update the ranges maybe every 4 or 5 years. There are a couple of things that need to happen. We wait for children to get to a higher level, and that's one of the exciting things about working at the apex of the market. Between us and the kids, we're constantly pushing ourselves, and to see trends come through, it generally takes 4 or 5 years. And the other important reason we leave it that amount of time is the retained value of a bike is so important. So if you change it every season, then someone will have the bike for only 2 years, and they'll sell a bike that's now not a current model. So we really try to avoid that. What was particularly big about this range relaunch was the addition of the Charger series. So historically, there was a certain resistance to kind of accessible hardtails for kids because it adds weight. But now the forks are that much better, and so many more kids are riding the terrain where they can get use out of a fork. And this was sort of dealer driven. We were getting that feedback from dealers. And so it's really exciting to be getting into the hardtails in such a big way.
Really nice. I'm thinking about when you're designing a bike, I really love the fact that you don't do like every year is a new model, so it retains the value. You are known for making premium bikes, and that like holds the resale value, which is a nice thing.
Yeah.
We've
got more things to do, right? So
yes.
if we think about what we try to do as a company, we try to support kids for as long as possible. So we do more in terms of the environment, we do more in terms of older kids, and we've got a lot of focus on the younger kids. If we're having to replace everything every year, then we're taking away from the work that we really want to do, which is helping kids develop and figuring out the design challenges that will help unlock potential. That's how we see it. Every time we can figure out something, then we allow a kid to unlock a bit more of their potential.
Andy, let's talk about how the bikes get into the market, and especially the connection between Early Rider and bike components.
We've been working together for a long time now,
yes,
right? We've sold a lot of product, got a lot of kids on bikes. So, no, it's been great. And for us, since the very beginning, it was clear we had shared values. Everyone I met is bike first, business later. And like any test of relationship, we've come through the good times and the hard times really well. So that's the most important thing for us.
I really love the fact that you came from an honest perspective of your history as a company, and the fact that you have a look for sustainability and you built the first bike yourself. And it's not about the whole margin and marketing thing, it's about the products, and that's something I really love. And lastly, I would say thank you for your time. It was a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, thank you for all the kind words, and it's been great fun, an absolute pleasure.
For me too, thanks. Okay, guys, that's it for this video. If you want to see more from Early Rider, check out our other videos on the channel, and see you next time.